Hey guys. Oh man, what am I doing today? What am I getting myself into? What's the topic today? Is the Palestinian conflict sourced in religious worldviews? Oh man. Uh all right, yeah. Is the Palestinian conflict sourced in religious worldviews? Okay, first I'll start with a little story. I've never really done it this way, but I grew up in Canada. One of my best friends in Canada for like a long time was just kind of like a brother, kind of grew up together. Christian Palestinian. I was listening to him and his worldview and, believing it. It didn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, okay, yeah, you're right, whatever. Whatever you're saying is right. Hey, let's go play Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, let's go watch this movie. Let's go listen to this music. That's kind of where my mind was at with this friend. And so I eventually came here on an internship. And what was rough for me was I the worldview that I got from him started getting challenged, right? I started seeing evidence on the ground that was contradictory to what he was believing. And I was sort of starting to share it with him. And it was such a fierce pushback that he ended up not wanting to be my friend anymore, called me a traitor, all this kind of stuff. And it's like the whole time I was there and I had his worldview and like I believed one thing. And then when I was here, I was started to question it. And the questioning it was a problem. And for me today, what I'm going to analyze is more Islam and versus the Judaism, the Torah text, right? But let's just jump to the next slide. But like, let's acknowledge that there are Christian Palestinians and there's secular left and secular right, Muslims and Jews, right? So obviously, it's not going to be very clean to be like, oh, I found the worldview conflict within the religions, within the text, right? Is there a worldview conflict between the Torah and the Quran? So we find the worldview conflict, or there is no worldview conflict. This will solve everything. Obviously, it's not going to solve everything. It's a much greater conflict than just this. But I feel like this is there is a piece of the puzzle here. Even if we do solve something here, even if we do figure something out here, it's a very, very big cultural thing. It's a cultural shift. Like it's an identity thing for I don't want to say all Muslims, but for Muslims today to hate Israel and to be against Israel, it's more like a cultural thing, and it's less of a religious thing. But maybe it is a religious thing. I don't know. Let's look at the text, right? Let's look into it. Okay, so there's some, let's start out with like agreements. So there's some surface level agreements. So there's a few common values and cultural practices that are worth mentioning, right? So again, here, I'm not looking at Palestinians in general. I'm looking at Islam and the Torah, specifically Islam and the Torah. So free from like just the text, just that divorced and devoid from the narrative problems, right? So there's a commonality in Abrahamic culture. Now this isn't only in Islam, it's more in Arabic culture, especially the inviting hosts and guests. It's a very Asian thing. But there's a monotheistic faith, which is common. And there's a universal acceptance of all peoples. That like, it doesn't matter where your place of origin is. It doesn't matter. Like there's no racism. There's none of that. There might be a bias based on your beliefs, but there's no bias based on your birth, your ethnicity, nothing of that. There's common values. There's modesty, humility, basic law, murder, theft, like that kind of stuff. So there's a commonality there. I realize there's a commonality with other peoples, but we're just analyzing here. There's a commonality in practices. So there's prayer, there's dietary laws, there's charity, economics like lending money, interest rates, stuff like that. So there are some strong commonalities between the two. When analyzing this text, it's claiming to be a prophetic text. There's a carrot and a stick sort of message in all of the prophets. So the first message is Israel is sinning and not keeping the Torah, right? The second message is a warning that if Israel continues to sin, consequences will occur. So the second message is a kind of a warning. The third message is always to avoid the consequences, Israel must return to the ways of the Torah. The fourth message is this is kind of more rare, but there are positive results of keeping the Torah. Okay. So here I just looked very randomly. I'm like, if this is a common message, I should be able to see it quickly. And it was just, I put this together in 2 seconds just by randomly looking. I'm like, okay, let's look at Isaiah for the first one, right? And so there you go, right away. Oh, sinful nation, people, heavy iniquity, a seed for evil, corrupt children, abandoning the Lord, forsaking the holiness of Israel, progressing backwards, right? Okay, that's like, I picked one at random and it's a great quote. I'm sure any other random quote would have been just great as well here. A warning that If Israel continues to sin, consequences will occur. Therefore, behold, I shall bring strangers upon you, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw swords against the beauty of your wisdom and desecrate your brightness, right? Again, just like a random place. But yeah, here we go. Warning, this bad thing will occur if you continue to sin, right? To avoid the consequences, all right? So looked at Jeremiah. If this nation returns from the evil ways which I have commanded, I shall have mercy regarding the evil which I thought to do unto it, right? And the last one was kind of hard, a little bit harder to find. Like it's in the Torah itself, but in the prophets, it's a little less common. But in Solomon, it's really in Proverbs, it's all over Proverbs. She's a tree of life for those who cleave to her and joy for those who support her, right? So it's a kind of a common message. And while I was looking for stuff, I also looked at Zechariah and I was like, where am I going to fit this? This is kind of all of them all together. Return unto me and I shall return unto you, right? God's saying to Israel, if you return to me, I'll return to you. And so when we look at the Quran, we're going to look for these elements. Is there a similarity, right? Now, the other thing that the Torah very limits in terms of worldview is Deuteronomy 13. Deuteronomy 13 is something that every single prophet is going to need to get around. And you'll see all of these prophecies, all of these, like this common pattern is sort of aligning with Deuteronomy 13, right? The source of these four sort of stages is what Deuteronomy 13 is saying, right? So here's a paraphrase. I just paraphrased it from Hebrew really quick. Everything that I have commanded you herein shall be kept. A prophet or a dreamer of dreams shall arise in proximity to you and shall provide you with a sign or a miracle. The sign or miracle shall be fulfilled and they shall speak. Let us follow other gods that were not made known to you, and let us serve them, right? And so this is the idea of a false prophet saying, hey, this is going to happen. Someone's going to do magic and going to convince you that they're special and they're going to tell you to go and do something else, right? And so the Torah is coming saying, hey, do not listen to the words of this prophet or this dreamer of dreams, for your Lord is trying you to know if you truly have love for the Lord your God. You shall follow the Lord your God and revere him. You shall keep his commandments and obey his voice. In him shall you serve and cleave. This prophet or dreamer of dreams shall die, for he spoke rebelliously against the Lord your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of slavery, right? Identifying who is your God. This is your God, the one who took you out of Egypt, right? They speak, the prophet speaks to remove you from the path that the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You shall remove this evil from your proximity. And so anytime anyone comes to claim to be a prophet, they have to be very careful not to say, hey, let's go and follow another God. Let's go and break the commandments. So all of the prophecy is not keep trying to take you away from the Torah. All of the prophecy is trying to bring you back to the Torah, right? And so when we're analyzing the Quran, we have to see, okay, is the Quran in line with this, right? This is the Torah's worldview. Does the Quran contradict this? Let's first of all look at which God, right? Other gods that were not made known to you, right? And who would reject the faith of Abraham except a fool? We certainly chose him in this life, and the hereafter will surely be among the righteous, right? Or did you witness when death came to Jacob? He asked his children, who will you worship after my passing? They replied, we will continue to worship your God, the God of your forefathers, Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, the one God, and to him we all submit, right? So right away, Muhammad, we see he's not trying to make us go after other gods. He's identifying with the same God. He's calling on the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Ishmael, right? And the God of Jacob, right? So this is who he's invoking. So right off the bat, he's not trying to make us go after gods that we did not know, right? That were not made known to us. And indeed, we gave Moses true guidance. So giving Moses true guidance is the Torah. And he's not saying go after something that's not the Torah, and made the children of Israel inherit the scripture, right? Inherit the Torah, a guide and a reminder to people of reason, right? So he's not saying go after something that's not the Torah. He's saying, hey, we gave the Torah. So right away, okay, Muhammad is sort of falling in line with Deuteronomy 13. And so right away, I'm seeing that there might not actually be a contradiction in worldview here. So what's going on? And again, I don't know if Muhammad was a prophet or he wasn't a prophet. I don't know if, I honestly don't know if even Moses was a prophet. I have my own beliefs about these things, but right away, what I'm analyzing here is not, okay, what do I believe? Can I believe this? Can I not believe this? What I'm analyzing here is, do these worldviews inherently contradict are they fighting each other, or can they mutually coexist? And so far, it seems like they can mutually coexist. Okay, so it's the same God, but what about the Torah and Moses, right? And so what's really weird about the Quran, like reading through it, is just how often Israel is brought up, Israel's ancestry is brought up, the stories of the Torah are brought up. Like, I would think someone who is coming to earth now, claiming to be a prophet, right, wouldn't want to associate themselves with that. Like, why is he associating himself with that? I would say at least 50% of the Quran is talking about Israel. Like, why? You're prophesizing to an Arab population. What does this have to do with Israel, right? What are you trying to do? So it's like, right away, Moses is mentioned more than Muhammad in the Torah, more than prophet. Like, Moses is mentioned 136 times. He's the most mentioned prophet right away. And all of the other prophets that are mentioned are Jewish prophets from Israel. Even when it talks about Jesus is from Israel. It's like, what's going on, right? And we gave Moses the scripture and made it a guide for the children of Israel, stating, do not take besides me any other trustee of affairs. So I don't know I don't read Arabic, but this term trustee of affairs for God shows up. It's coming and saying, hey, the Torah, God gave the Torah to Israel and for Israel. Like, it's not saying God gave the Torah for Muslims. It's not saying God gave the Torah for everyone else. It's saying God gave the Torah through Moses to Israel for the children of Israel. Muslims aren't going off and reading the Torah. Why? Because it's saying the Torah is not for Muslims. The Quran is for Muslims. The Torah is for the children of Israel. What's going on? And here's another way. Now, indeed, we have sent revelation to you, O prophet, as we sent revelation to Noah. So right away, he's equating himself, his prophecy, he's equating himself with the prophecy given to Noah and the prophets after him. You're on the same level of Noah and the prophets after him. So something special about Noah in Jewish tradition is that Noah got laws. Noah got Noahide laws. The Noahide laws are for the entire world. And so when he's equating himself to Noah, he's saying that the Quran is a Noahide document. It's general for all mankind. So maybe that's what he's alluding to. I don't know, but it's worth investigating. Like, maybe this is what the claim of the Quran is. Okay, we also sent revelation to Abraham, Isaac, right? So now this is separate. So I don't know who the prophets were after Noah, but then afterwards you have Abraham. It seems like these next prophets aren't incorporated in these first. So you have Muhammad, O prophet, you have Noah equated, and the prophets after Noah. So there seem to be a few prophets that aren't being mentioned after Noah that are being equated with Muhammad. But then we also, right? We also, in addition to this, we also sent revelation to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, which are not equated with Muhammad. Muhammad's not equating himself with these prophets and his descendants, as well as Jesus, Job, Jonah, Aaron, and Solomon. So there's more specific prophets. So there's Abrahamic prophecy. There's more specific prophets, which are separate. And then there's David's Psalms, which are another level. And then it says, there are messengers whose stories we have told you already, and others we have not. And to Moses, Allah spoke directly. Like, Moses is on another level. So the Quran right away is saying Moses spoke directly with God. No one else had this level. Muhammad didn't speak directly with God, right? The tradition is Muhammad spoke through Gabriel. And so right away, there's like a strong agreement with the worldview of the Torah. Like, the Torah always says, okay, no one else spoke directly with God except for Moses. Like, Moses is the only one who ever did and whoever will be able to, which is kind of fascinating. So like, I would think if Muhammad is coming with the Quran, I would think Muhammad would say, I am on a higher level. I am the new prophet. My prophecy overrides and supersedes all the old prophecies, right? I would think that's what he would want to do, what he would try to do, but he's not. He's agreeing with the Torah. He's agreeing with Deuteronomy 13. He's saying, no, Moses is on another level. So far, the worldview is agreeing, okay? So one of the things that right away, he equates Jesus as a prophet. So from a Jewish perspective, saying Jesus is a prophet might be problematic because maybe Jesus went again against Deuteronomy 13. So let's see if, like, maybe this is the silver bullet. The Quran is wrong. The worldview cannot fit with the Torah, because the Quran is going off. So maybe this is so maybe, you know, he made a little mistake by including this. We got him. We caught him, right? So here, was Jesus a prophet? Did Jesus violate Deuteronomy 13? So when Jesus, the son of Mary, said, "O children of Israel, indeed I am the messenger of Allah." So right, he's not saying anything else, that he's just a messenger. He's a prophet. "To you, confirming what came before me, the Torah, and bringing good tidings." So it's like, wait, what? Okay, he's not violating Deuteronomy 13. He's not saying don't follow the Torah. He's not saying go after another God. He's saying the opposite. He's saying follow the Torah. So it's like, okay, you didn't violate. Okay, this narrative, I'm not saying this narrative is correct. This is what actually happened. But what I am saying, like, because I don't know, right? What I am saying is this narrative isn't contradicting Deuteronomy 13. It's not contradicting the Torah. And he's prophesizing a messenger to come after me whose name is Ahmad, right? This is supposed to be Muhammad. So apparently Jesus says, hey, follow the Torah, and there's going to be another prophet after me called Muhammad. And this is really interesting that this was included. But when he came to them with clear evidences, they said, this is obvious magic. Again, this is referring directly to Deuteronomy 13, right? So if I go right back to Deuteronomy 13, okay, everything that I command you here. So keep the Torah, first of all. And a prophet or dreamer of dreams shall arise in proximity to you and shall provide a sign or a miracle. And so it seems like what here we are. It seems like what Israel, the narrative here at least, is when Jesus came to Israel and said, I'm a prophet, here I'm giving you prophecy, I'm saying the Torah is right. But they were saying, oh, you're a dreamer of dreams, you're just doing magic, right? We don't believe in magic. We're looking at your message, right? And so it seems like he was dismissed, according to this narrative, he was dismissed as violating Deuteronomy 13. And here the Quran is coming to Jesus's defense and saying he didn't violate Deuteronomy 13. He actually came to confirm the Torah, and he was just labeled as a magic user, right? As doing miracles. Okay, does this sort of go with the historical narrative? Like, does this match reality in any way? And yeah, kind of. Historically, it was Peter. So Peter and Paul are both Jews. They rejected the commandments. They're the ones who rejected the commandments. They didn't necessarily reject it, but they steered Christianity away from the Torah. They're the ones that did it, not Jesus. So like this could be a valid narrative. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is true, but it's a possible narrative that could sort of resolve the what the Quran is claiming on Jesus being a prophet. And it goes in more. So, oh, people of a book, do not go to extremes. So who is it talking to? It's talking to the Jews. Don't go to extremes regarding your faith. Say nothing about Allah except in the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was no more than a messenger of Allah. He was, okay. So he's talking about the early Jews that were following Jesus were too extreme in their belief of Jesus. They were too extreme. And he's saying, hey, you extremist Jews, Jesus was just a messenger. And the fulfillment of his word through Mary and a spirit, he created by a command. So I don't know who created the spirit, who commanded it. Was it Jesus? Was it God? I don't know. It doesn't seem very obvious to me. But so far, all it's saying is, okay, who was actually extreme? It was the Jews. It was these original Jews who were too extreme. They called he was no more than a messenger. We decided he was more than a messenger. So believe in Allah and his messengers. And do not say Trinity, right? Right away, stop. So Trinity is a God, right? From Deuteronomy 13, it's a God that we did not know before. It's a new God, right? Jesus is new in history. Believing in him is a new God. So for your own good, Allah is only one God. Glory be to him. And he is far above having a son. To him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Like everything is God's. Don't just put like this person is not his son. Everyone is his son. Right? Everything belongs to him. And Allah is sufficient as a trustee of affairs. So here's that term again. Allah is enough as a trustee of affairs. Let's go back to where we had that before, right here. And we gave Moses scriptures and made it a guide for the children, stating, do not take besides me any other trustee of affairs, right? Do not take besides God. And so it's saying, yep, God is enough as a trustee of affairs, right? So narrative that it was the Jews who became too extreme in their faith of Jesus and made him to be a son of God and made God to be a Trinity. God is enough. There's no need for more, quote unquote. You don't need three. One is enough, right? So far this worldview is confirming the Torah. I mean, I'm not saying any of this is true, but it's not the worldview isn't contradicting it. The narratives in this text aren't contradicting the worldview of the Torah. The Messiah would never be too proud to be a servant of Allah, right? Someone who is truly a servant of God would never say that I'm God, nor would the angels nearest Allah. Even the angels would never say that I can replace God. Those who are too proud and arrogant to worship him will be brought before him altogether, right? Whoever the Messiah is would never be too proud to be a servant. So the narrative of the true servant of God would never equate themselves with God or place themselves above God or equal to God. So let's go back to these 4 ideas. So now that we've kind of established what the Quran is saying, it's not violating Deuteronomy 13. Let's see if it's creating these same kind of 4 messages, right? If it's similar to the other prophecies, or if it's another prophecy entirely. Maybe it's a completely different prophecy it's claiming to be, or is it claiming to be something similar, or is it both, right? But for here, we're strictly looking at the intersection, the contradiction between the Torah and the Quran, right? So let's see the patterns of prophecy. So here we've got all 4. So this is, I think this is called Al-Isra. It's a part. I took 17:4 to 17:9 here. And all 4 of these kind of show up here. Okay, so, and we warned the children of Israel in the scripture, you will certainly cause corruption in the land twice, and you will become extremely arrogant. So like, this is true. This is in the Torah. The Torah says you will cause corruption in the land twice, and you'll become arrogant, and you will get kicked out of the land twice, right? This is what the Torah already says. So Israel is sinning and not keeping the Torah. Right away, it's agreeing not only with what the Torah says, but it's also calling Israel sinners, right? When the first of the 2 warnings would come to pass, we would send against you some of our servants of great might who would ravage your homes. This would be a warning fulfilled, right? A warning that if Israel continues to sin, consequences will occur. Yep. Then after your repentance, we would give you the upper hand over them and aid you with wealth and offspring, causing you to outnumber them. So to avoid consequences, Israel must return to the ways of the Torah, and you'll have positive results. Yep. If you act rightly, it is for your own good. But if you do wrong, it is to your own loss. A warning of the consequences, right? It's not a punishment, it's just consequences. And when the second warning would come to pass, your enemies would be left to totally disgrace you and enter the temple of Jerusalem as they entered the first time and utterly destroy whatever would fall into their hands, right? So this is actually historic. So I don't know if Muhammad knew history or if he was really a prophet and he got this from Gabriel, but this is actually what happened. The destruction of the second temple, they entered the temple and disgraced it, right? Perhaps your Lord will have mercy on you if you repent, but if you return to sin, we will return to punishment. And we have made hell a permanent confinement for disbelievers. Surely the Quran guides to what is most upright and gives good news to the believers who do good, that they will have a mighty reward, right? Again, the reward, the positive results. So there's the reward and the punishment, the carrot and the stick. It's all mentioned already here. Okay. What else is it saying, right? So let's look more in depth at all of the places the Quran talks about Israel sinning, right? Now, this is a bit interesting because you can take this out of context and paint a very negative picture of Israel, right? You could say, look, the Quran is very anti-Israel. Here, let's bring proof. Don't believe in the Quran. But if you look at the Torah and if you look at the prophets are also all saying the same thing. The Quran isn't necessarily anti-Israel. This is just the nature of all of the prophecy as well before. It's all very anti-Israel. So Israel is sinning. And remember when we took the covenant from the children of Israel stating, worship none but Allah, be kind to parents, relatives, orphans, and the needy, speak kindly to people, establish prayer, and pay alms tax. But you Israelites turned away, except for a few of you, and were indifferent. This is true. Throughout all of Jewish history, there have always been some religious Jews who have always continued to practice the Torah and follow God, right? And it also addresses them. Why did their rabbis and scholars not forbid them from saying what is sinful and assuming what is unlawful? Evil indeed is their inaction, right? So here again, there's this indifference and there's this inaction, right? And it's a challenging place to be in. Cursed were those who disbelieved among the children of Israel. Cursed are they by the tongue of David and Jesus, the son of Mary. That was because they disobeyed and habitually transgressed, right? Israel is sinning. Again, same message. They were condemned for breaking their covenant, rejecting Allah's signs and killing the prophets unjustly, and for saying, our hearts are unreceptive. It is Allah who has sealed their hearts for their disbelief. And so they do not believe except for a few. All right, again, except for a few, right? So here it's saying, what's this heart closing up thing that it's talking about? It's saying, I don't feel God, so I don't believe in God. It's like, okay, well, you don't feel God because you didn't believe in God. That's kind of what it's trying to say here. It's like turning it on its head. It's saying, oh, you don't believe in God? Of course you don't feel God. Don't use your feeling for disbelief, right? Your lack of feeling is because of disbelief, right? For wrongdoing on the part of the Jews, we made unlawful for them certain good foods, which had been lawful to them, and for averting away from Allah many people, right? So I included this. I don't know, like, I don't know if this actually agrees with the Jewish worldview, that the reason that we have more forbidden foods than what the Quran has, like a lot of dietary laws line up, but then there's a lot of extra dietary laws that are on the Jewish people, right? For example, Muslims can eat shrimp, Jews can't eat shrimp, right? Like there's extra dietary laws on Israel, on the Jewish people. And here it's saying it's because of our sin that there's extra dietary laws. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. That's the same as the Jewish worldview, but it's not, it's kind of like, who cares? Like, who cares why? Like, okay, they have got a different interpretation of the reasons we've got, like, is that why we're killing each other? Really? Because we disagree with this? Like, it's not that big a deal. But at least the Muslims are acknowledging that there is a Torah. There are extra laws on the Jews that the Jews need to keep, right? So it's like if a Jew were to be like, come to Islam, and a Jew is like, hey, I want to be a Muslim. You go and you read the Quran. What does the Quran want from me as a Jew? Oh, I've got extra laws on me. I can't keep the same kosher. I can't keep halal. I need to keep kosher, right? This is what the Quran is saying directly. So again, the Quran, like, this is why I included it, because the Quran is kind of supporting the Torah. The Quran is not telling Jews to stop keeping kosher. The Quran is telling Jews keep kosher, right? Again, so it's the Quran is not violating Deuteronomy 13. And when we took your covenant and raised the mountain above you, saying, hold firmly to that scripture which we have given you and obey, like, obey the Torah. They answered, we hear and disobey, because they worship the golden calf, right? Was rooted in their hearts because of their disbelief. Say, O prophet, how evil is what your so-called belief prompts you to do, if you actually believe the Torah, right? So it's like, again, Israel is sinning. So it's bringing up a lot, like, this point, Israel is sinning. Next, a warning. If Israel continues to sin, consequences will occur. So first of all, there's a warner, right? So if Muhammad is giving a warning, then he should be a warner, right? And we see this as well. We have surely sent you with the truth, O prophet, as a deliverer of good news and a warner, and you will not be accountable for the residents of the hellfire, right? So it's like, okay, you give the good news and you give the warning. If they listen or they don't listen, that's not your problem. You did your job. Your job is to be a warner and to deliver the news. After that, what the people do, that's not on you, that's on them, right? The disbelievers say, if only a sign could be sent down to him from his Lord, you, O prophet, are only a warner, and every people had a guide. So the disbelievers are like, oh, send us a sign. Like, Deuteronomy 13. Do some magic for us. Prophesy something. Do some dreamer of dreams. Do something spectacular for us, and then we'll believe you. And he's like, no, that's not the prophet doesn't have to do that. You're only a warner. Okay. And again, every people has a guide. It's like, what does that even mean? What do you mean people have a guide? And Torah, for example, in Hebrew, literally means a guide, right? If you're a warner and you're giving a warning to Israel, you don't have to give them a sign because they already have a guide. They like, you're telling them, hey, stick to your guide. I'm warning you. If you don't stick to your guide, something bad's going to happen, right? We have sent you, O prophet, only as a deliverer of good news and a warner to all of humanity. But most people do not know. O you who are given the book, right? Okay, now we're talking to Israel again. Believe in what we have revealed, confirming your own scriptures, right? So again, Deuteronomy 13, not violated, saying, I'm here to confirm the Torah, keep the Torah, before we wipe out your faces, turning them backwards, or we condemn the defiant as we did to the Sabbath breakers. And so this is interesting too. It's like he condemned the Sabbath breakers. So it's saying even still, hey, keep the Sabbath. And Allah's command is always executed. Okay. They will be stricken with disgrace wherever they go, unless they are protected by a covenant with Allah or a treaty with the people. They have invited the displeasure of Allah and have been branded with misery for rejecting Allah's revelations and murdering his prophets unjustly. This is a fair reward for the disobedience and violations. Yet they are not all alike. There are some among the people of the book who are upright, who recite Allah's revelations throughout the night, prostrating in prayer. So the Quran is criticizing those who don't follow the Torah, and it's supporting those who do follow the Torah, right? So far it said Israel is sinning and not keeping the Torah. Yes. If you continue to sin, consequences will occur. To avoid the consequences, keep the Torah. Is this what the Quran is saying? O children of Israel, remember all the favors I granted you and how I honored you above others. But those who are mindful of their Lord will be in gardens under which rivers flow to stay there forever as an accommodation from Allah. And what is with Allah is best for the virtuous. Indeed, there are some among the people of the book who truly believe in Allah and what has been revealed to you, believers, and what was revealed to them. They humble themselves before Allah, never trading Allah's revelations for a fleeting gain. Their reward is with the Lord. Surely Allah is swift in reckoning. As for those who firmly abide by the scripture and establish prayer, surely we would never discount the reward of those acting righteously. There are some among the people of Moses who guide with truth and establish justice accordingly. Okay, so is there a conflict in worldview? Although the narratives might differ, there's no conflict in worldview. According to the Torah, a Jew could believe in Muhammad as a prophet and in the validity of the Quran and still be considered a practicing Jew, provided that they keep the Torah and its commandments. So according to the Quran, Jews must keep the Torah. Okay, so here there might be a conflict because the Quran is correct. There are many, many Jews in the world that do not keep the Torah. And so maybe this might be a source of conflict. Maybe the source of conflict might be the non-religious Jews, right? The Quran is clearly against Jews who do not follow the Torah, just as every single Jewish prophet was. It's very similar. The Torah is clearly against any worldview that claims to override the Torah. He has revealed to you a prophet, the book in truth, confirming what came before it, as he revealed the Torah and the gospel. The prophet, Muhammad, is confirming what came before. It's confirming the Torah. It's not going against the Torah. It's not violating the Torah, right? So yeah, here I put it. Non-practicing Jews are condemned by the Quran. So there's one conflict, and the Torah does not directly conflict with the Quran, right? So here might be a source of conflict in the worldview, right? But so where is the conflict? So what I'd like to say is okay, clearly the texts don't conflict, right? But maybe the interpretations of the text, maybe the cherry picking of quotes, right? Not taking everything in context, taking things out of context. Maybe that is what's causing the conflict. Maybe all you're looking at, right, is what I was saying before. Maybe all they're looking at is this. Israel is sinning and not keeping the Torah, right? If you brought all kinds of quotes saying how bad Israel is, how much it sins, then the Quran would be painting a very negative picture of Jews and saying that Jews should come and follow the Quran. But that's taking things out of context. That's cherry picking. So that might be a source of the worldview conflict. There might be a worldview conflict there because people don't have the correct worldview, right? And on the Jewish side too, people, I would say the way I was taught about Islam and the Quran is that it's not an idolatrous religion, right? But it's got a bunch of flaws in it. It's telling us to not keep the Torah, right? And that's not true, right? So I think a lot of Jews also have a very don't realize how much our worldviews are compatible, how much our worldviews do not conflict with each other, right? So I think on both sides, there is something to learn here. And so this might not be the source of the conflict, but we're using it to support the conflict. And whereas this quite inversely should be a sort of solution to the conflict. It should help deconstruct the conflict a little bit, right? If we're able to at least sort out our worldviews, then maybe we have a chance in our narratives, right? Maybe we have a chance other places. At least let's not argue about the worldviews, because the worldviews are compatible, right? So here, where is the conflict? So this is a very generalized overview. Just don't catch me on the details. So narratives, this is true. Both sides of the conflict still hold on to contradictory narratives of blame and are constantly being reinforced, right? They're constantly reinforcing these narratives of blame, right? We're always blaming the other side. Why are we killing each other? Oh, because of them. Oh, because of this. Oh, because of this, right? Always blame, never taking responsibility for our part, right? And so I have here left-wing Israel blame, right? They're blaming Israel. And they're anti-religious, right? And so we saw before, there's a worldview clash. Any part of Israel that is anti-religious, that is not following the Torah, should clash with the Quran, right? And so if like, I want to defend Muslims here a little bit, based on their worldview, not based on their actions or anything here, but based on their worldview, they should have a very negative opinion of Israel, seeing how much we're sinning, right? Seeing how much it's not that we're not following the Quran. They should have a negative opinion of us for how much we're not following the Torah, right? And so left-wing Israel seems to like align with this Palestinian narrative, great, but it's completely going against the worldview. So of course, this isn't the solution, right? Right-wing Israel blames Palestinians, so there's a narrative clash, and is pro-religious, but anti-Muslim. So there's a worldview clash. It's like, okay, at least, so here, this anti-Muslim thing, I don't know why I spelled this wrong, Muslimism, anti-Muslimism. But yeah, so the right-wing Israel is anti-Muslim, and maybe we can solve this. Maybe we can get rid of this. You know, maybe there's a little bit of healing that can be here, because we don't have to be anti-Muslim, right? There's no worldview clash, right? In fact, the Muslim religion is actually quite a beautiful religion. It's got some very common values, some very high values that are just getting lost in the extremism, lost in the polarization, lost in the conflict, right? And so, because like it's really interesting that like the left is anti-religious, so there's a worldview clash, but here we're pro-religious, and there's also a worldview clash, because that shouldn't be there. So this could be healed. But there is definitely a narrative clash. There is definitely blame from right-wing Israel. There's lots of blame on the Palestinians, which, you know, they might be right, they might be wrong. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I'm saying this blame is here, right? Left-wing Palestinians unite with the narrative of left-wing Israel, right? But they're anti-religious. So I know I'm botching this up completely, but there are anti-religious Palestinians who are all in on the narrative and trying to align with left-wing Israel. So both of them are causing kinds of problems in their own right. Palestinians center. So there's a lot of Israeli Palestinians are considered more like the center. They unite with the narrative of left-wing Israel. So they or they have a narrative of the Palestinian narrative of blame against Israel, right? I just mentioned unite with this because this is the first one I came up with, but yeah, they're blaming Israel. So there's still some blame there. And they're traditional. So there's not really a religious clash. There's not really a worldview clash. They're clashing more on the narrative. Palestinian right have extremist narratives. There's a narrative clash. So the Palestinian right is very extremist, and they believe in extremist doctrines. So there is a worldview clash, right? So they claim to believe in the Quran, but they actually believe in very extremist doctrines, which are violent in nature and destructive in nature. A lot of them, I would say, cherry pick the Quran or don't even read the Quran. So there are these right extremists that definitely have a narrative clash, definitely have a lot of blame, and definitely take a lot of actions, right? So this is definitely a problem. There's Palestinian moderates. They unite with the narrative of right-wing Israel. So there's a center, and then there's the moderates, the ones who are taking responsibility for their side. And it's kind of like the left, right? The Israel left is taking the side of the Palestinians. So there's the Palestinian moderates are taking the view of the right-wing Israel. There's not that many of them, but so there is a narrative clash with their own side. There's a religious spectrum with them. So there are Christians, there are Muslims, there are non-religious, but they have devout believers in Islam and the Quran. So they do still have a worldview clash with non-religious Israel. Some of them still have a worldview clash. but most of them, they don't even care about the worldview. They're aligning on the narrative, right? So it seems it's a problem in narrative, not worldview. Outside pressure from the Arabic, Muslim, and international communities further polarize and perpetuate all sides of the conflict. So that's another thing, is like everyone's getting involved. No one's here. No one sees the exact evidence. No one knows what's going on. They're just cherry picking whatever evidence, whatever side, whatever narrative they want. They're reinforcing the narrative and they're perpetuating the conflict, right? So the greater, I know not everyone believes this, but en masse, overall, the greater Arabic and Muslim international community is anti-Israel, right? Has anti-Israel narratives. Okay, so there's hope. So there's an opportunity for common ground between the core religious texts and worldviews. So I really do think that, just based on examining these worldviews, I think there's a place for common ground here, which I don't really see. Like, I don't really see many people talking about how much our values and worldviews are aligning. And I don't see many people seeing the beauty in the other side, and the positive in the other side, at least the worldview side of it. So this could provide a seed for peace, like we could, and to restructure and construct a new shared narrative together that can be agreed upon. So, I mean, there is hope here. I don't know how viable this hope is. Like, everyone's basically going to have to get on board with the fact that there's no contradiction in worldview, which right now, I don't know why. All sides are saying, no, our worldviews clash, but they don't. Your narratives clash, your worldviews are fine, provided that it doesn't become yet another place of division and contention. So this won't help, because like, this is a chance too. This might not help, because it's like, hey, let's form a new group that says, hey, we're agreeing on worldviews. Let's make a new narrative together. And then everyone else is going to vilify them because they're basically threatening everyone else's narratives, right? So this might not actually work either. So narrative blame. So here's what I understood. Even if our side is right, it doesn't help solve the conflict, right? Like, that's what I'm seeing. Like, I can do such a deep dive. I can learn everything about it. I can get to the exact correct answer, but no one's going to listen to it. Everyone's going to stick to their correct answer, to their worldview. Even if I am right, it's not going to solve the conflict. It's not going to help, right? It's only going to perpetuate further conflict. It seems like we can't have a conversation without even talking about these details, without talking about what happened in 1967, without holding on to World War II or Oslo or all these things, right? Like, any conversation has to involve these narratives, right? And these narratives. So there's going to be a lot of blame around 1967 and what should have happened and what could have happened. There's going to be a lot of blame around World War II or Oslo, right? Right? All of these there's more points, right? I just included 3, right? There's like 1948, there's the Balfour Declaration, there's the mandate for Palestine, right? All of these details and are going to be used in whatever narrative they're constructing. And so that we're going to be gaslighting each other. We're just going to be talking about all of these details and what context they belong in. No, they belong in this context. No, right? They belong in that context. And we're not going to get anywhere. It doesn't help to know more about the issue. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So all this serves is to reinforce narratives that do not help, right? And so here I have peace is better than truth, right? Even if you're right, it doesn't help solve the problem. So just let go of your narrative. It's like, okay, I've got the right narrative. I'll let go of it. I don't care. Even if I am right, let's say I'm completely right and they're wrong in their narrative, right? Let's just let go of that. I don't care. Who cares? So what? I'm right, you're wrong. That's not important right now. Peace is what's important, right? How does holding on to a narrative, even if it's true, help to stop the rockets from flying over my head, right? They're not going to believe it. It's not going to stop them from attacking me. So what's the point, right? Don't replace one narrative with another, right? Just get rid of the narratives. Like, that's kind of the only solution I'm seeing here, right? So it's clear that blame continues the cycle of blame. Oh, you attacked us, then we attack you, and then you attack them, and then, like, hey, stop. There should be an accounting of the past. I'm not saying let's not figure out the past. There should be an accounting of the past. Sure, we should sort all that out, but only after the present and future have been secured, right? And that's something I learned from history. It's like, okay, yeah, there's lots of atrocities in history. The natives, displacing the natives in North America, atrocity, right? And only today, we're getting to the accounting of it. The slavery and it's like World War II. How is the world able to move on from World War II so quickly? That's just insane to me. It's like, what an atrocity. Like, what solved it was that the narrative was shared, right? What solved it was, okay, the narratives was all over everywhere, right? The Germans took responsibility for the narrative. They accepted the narrative. They accepted their blame, right? And so we were able to break the cycle, right? We weren't fighting over the narrative. They weren't saying, "Oh no, we never did that. Oh no, it's their fault that we killed them." None of that, right? With slavery in North America. So now there's a lot of turmoil in social media. Not now, but like in recent history, the accounting has come about, right? We're trying to get a hold of the narrative, but at least we're in a state of peace when we're trying to, like, not complete peace, but at least we're in a somewhat secured future and present. And now we're trying to correct the narrative of the past. Now we're trying to talk about it, right? Talk about it. But after things are better, like, let's focus. The primary focus should be on making things better. And then afterwards, let's discuss the narrative and who's to blame if you really want to fall into that, right? And most people won't. Only the people who want to blame are going to perpetuate that cycle afterwards too. So that's my 2 cents at this time. So yeah. Good luck. I hope I didn't offend too many people. I really do think that there is potential here to solve one of the things that's perpetuating the conflict, this belief that there is a worldview problem, because I see it on both sides. I see it on the Muslim side. They believe that there's a worldview problem with the Torah and with Judaism. And I see it on the Jewish side, that they believe that there's a worldview problem with the Quran, and there isn't one. Like, looking at the text, they're not violating each other. There's no actual. We might disagree on some of the details, but the worldview itself, there's no contradiction there, and it's and I think we can focus on that. I think we don't have to at least allow that to perpetuate the conflict. Maybe that'll take some of the gas, some of the foot off the gas pedal. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, have a good one, guys. Good luck.